Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Cote, and I'm your podcast host here on the show today. And we have Chris Shiver, founder and CEO of Adventure Headquarters, joining us. We're going to hear all about his journey to business ownership, challenges, and best practices that he's learned along the way to give you that inside look to what it's like to run and operate a business. If this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when we drop episodes like this. Welcome, Chris. It is so great to meet you.
Thanks, Kay. I appreciate your time and this opportunity to talk to you guys today.
Wonderful. I am so excited to dive into learning about you and your business. So let's kick it off. Tell me a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Adventure Headquarters.
Well, I was kind of very fortunate as a small child. Some might say it's kind of a curse, but my dad's job took us overseas when I was 3. And I've spent about 12 years overseas, traveling the world for most of my life. I've been to 36 countries, and I'm hooked and addicted to travel and adventure. And my dad got us into some amazing experiences all over the planet. And so I figured I'd find a way to do that for the rest of my life and help millions, potentially millions of other people around the world to get out and do more fun, cool things outdoors.
That sounds incredible. Well, I am a huge fan of traveling myself, and what a cool experience. And I love that you've brought it into your business. So, let's dive in a little deeper and tell me more about your why and what you offer at Adventure Headquarters.
There's few things that all people on this planet have in common, and one of them is the love of the outdoors for physical, mental, emotional, psychological health, for fun, for exercise, for fellowship, for friendship, for digitally detoxing, making new friends, learning new activities, traveling. It's something that whether you're in Moscow or Manila or Austin or Beijing, it doesn't matter. Humans all have the same feelings, the same emotions when they get out and do really cool things. So, having been an adventurer most of my life all over the planet, I grew extremely frustrated with how difficult it is to find things to do and how to source what's real and what's out there and being able to, live a life of adventure. So that was the genesis of what became Adventure Headquarters.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible. And you touched on so many great things, especially when it comes to just the benefits of getting outside, smelling the air, putting our feet in the grass, and those many of those things that we don't experience as much as probably we should. So I'm excited to even get into it a little deeper. And so, how are you, like, if I was your ideal client, how would I know I would be a great fit for you?
Well, we have two clients, so to speak, but I'd like to clarify that a little bit. We have users and we have advertisers. So for the user, for the consumer, it's anybody from 8 to 80, anywhere in the world, any age, any demographic, any education. Everybody has that same DNA to get outside and do stuff. So technically, everybody on the planet is a potential customer for us. On the sponsorship or advertiser side, we go after adventure companies that want to sponsor and reach that audience that we're building. So anybody from Patagonia, North Face, Yeti, down to Bob's Fly Fishing Shop in Podunk, Iowa. They're all trying to grow their business. They're all trying to get new customers. And Google is the only tool for the consumer to find things to do, and it's truly detested. I mean, people's eyes roll back in their heads when I ask them, how do you find things to do? The other side of the coin is the advertisers, the sponsors that are trying to reach active on the go outdoor consumers. They're stuck with Google or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok. They say the same thing: bring us a better way to reach and engage the consumer so we can grow our business. So the industry's what I call a highly dysfunctional marketplace. You've got 500 million people on one side trying to do things outdoors, and you've got 30,000 companies trying to sell activities and services, and there's just a grand canyon of complexity and inefficiency that are stopping the smooth operations of that marketplace. And you have just a carnage every year of the companies going out of business. And it's not for lack of customers, it's for lack of efficiently reaching those customers. So that's what we do is we take people that are actively trying to reach each other and engage with each other. And we just help them to shake hands a little easier and do more business and get outside and do more cool things.
Mm, I absolutely love that. I think that's so important. And like what you're doing is crucial and you're helping so many brands. Um, Now, I'd like to learn a little bit about your team and what's kind of the driving force behind your business. And so, looking at your business, a couple of things. How many years have you been in business? And secondly, what's your team look like now? How many team members do you have?
The original Genesis goes back probably 20 years, 22 years. In 2001, I was a part of one of the best expeditions ever put on Mount Everest. And that kind of started the thinking going, now this is tough because nothing else is going to be this much fun. So what am I going to do for the rest of my life?
Mm-hmm.
So I started down the path of running high-end scuba diving island resorts between Fiji and Belize and the Philippines. So I got paid to scuba dive for 4 or 5 years. So I'm like, if I get paid to scuba dive, why can't I get paid to do all these other adventures? So in 2014, after a couple other projects, I bought ColoradoAdventure.com and saw that Colorado was about a $30 billion industry and it was terribly dysfunctional. So I looked at that for a couple of years, did a lot of market research, met a lot of people in the industry, and I realized that it's not just Colorado, it's every state, it's every country has the same fundamental problem. So in 2018, I started what is now Adventure Headquarters as a global platform marketplace. And I moved to Austin just in time for COVID. And that pretty much didn't destroy us, but one heartbeat away from death and destruction because everybody was shut down. But what it did, COVID opened up the eyes of the world, of the masses, for the need to get outside, not just physical, but psychological need. People were literally having nervous breakdowns because they couldn't get outside. So we simmered along through COVID through 2021. Then we started raising capital in late 21, launched our Austin prototype in 22, started ramping up customers and advertisers. The main thing we do is we put on in-person events. We bring people together, 30 or 40 people together around a hike or a kayak trip or a four-wheel drive trip. And we bring people together like the old days. Put your phone down and just make some new friends and hang out and bonfire and music and take a deep breath. And so that's the big differentiator for us is bringing people together at the end of the day after our events. We're not just an online platform, we're an in-person and events party planning. So we had some capital that was pulled from us a year and a half ago that about destroyed us, and that was brutal. It was when Silicon Valley Bank blew up, some investors pulled their capital back. And so we went into a holding pattern. And at that point, we strategically decided to wait for artificial intelligence to evolve. And we've always known that AI was going to be a powerful tool. There's been a lot of contortions in that technology, in that industry. So we're still waiting through late last year. Now we've incorporated into our business plan and have a very good handle on how and why AI is going to work for this solution that we can do in 6 months, what was going to take us 3 years to do. So
Wow,
all
that
things in
is
good time.
very true. Well, thank you for sharing that story. I'd like to dive a little deeper into the challenge you mentioned, like last year when, you had that your funds, your investors were pulling away. Can you dive in a little deeper on that? Because there's so many entrepreneurs that are maybe listening to this that maybe have experienced that and or are in that. So, what was that experience like, and how did you pull through that time?
That's a half hour conversation just in and of itself. Silicon Valley Bank had about 60% of all venture capital dollars were in that one bank. And when Silicon Valley Bank blew up and defaulted, the VCs and other banks, everybody panicked and shut down. Everybody pulled back what dollars they could.
Mhm.
And we were 2 days short of 50 grand moving into our account. The investors pulled back, and what can you do? I mean, I did my best to persuade them and beg and plead and grovel to hang with us because we had everything teed up perfectly to launch the company. But at the end of the day, it's the investors' dollars, and there's not much you can do. They're going to do what they're going to do. Um, I guess the thing that got me through it was knowing in my deepest heart and soul that what we were trying to do was the right thing. We know we're sitting on a winner. We know we're on the right mountain. Um, we all kind of got part-time jobs in the meantime to stay alive and buy time, knowing that things would come back. And then late last year, starting in the summertime, with the elections, not knowing which way it was going to go, a lot of investors were sitting nervously on the sidelines because they didn't know what tax rates were going to be or regulation or whatever. So we've seen since the election an incredible explosion of optimism and energy and enthusiasm from the investor community now that they have a very pro-business, lower tax, lower regulation philosophy in the White House and in Congress. So it's been an incredible night to day change just in 4 months. So, I just keep telling myself, how much do I really believe in what I'm doing? And, if you can really answer that question, heart and soul, that you believe in it, you'll find a way to survive. So, most of my team is, in the same situation. They're working part-time gigs or moonlighting, and a couple of us drove Uber for several months just to interview hundreds and hundreds of consumers. When I started the company, I went to about 5 or 6 trade shows and interviewed over 500 companies. I've interviewed probably 1,000 consumers. Easily 90% of both say we don't like Google. It's useless. Help. Bring us a better marketing platform, better marketing tool. So I've put too much into this. I put everything I have into it to give up that easily just to lose some investor capital. But we're back in front of some really sharp people as we speak, and everybody gets the concept. We're just, we're not whiz bang technology, so we kind of get overlooked around Austin because they're looking for the next big grand slam. And, what we have is not a technology play. We're an events and marketing platform built on simple, proven off the shelf technology. So we're not inventing or innovating with IT, so to speak. We're innovating on how do you use IT to bring people together like the old days. So part of it is I'm too dumb to know better. I don't know how to quit. This is my dream, my life, my baby, my vision. I've got everything in the kitchen sink invested in it, and so I have to find a way to just keep plugging along one day at a time. But for me, the team is the key. The team is, if there's one thing any of your audience can take away from this, is what the team really means. Things like integrity and honor and character and honesty are so vital. You can always teach skill sets, but you can't teach values. So I've handpicked a team methodically over the years. Some of them have been with me 5 and 6 years, and got a 2-time astronaut. I've got the former CIO of American Airlines. I've got the former executive vice president of Major League Baseball Advanced Media. I've got the director of 2 of the largest trade shows in the industry on my team. We know the adventure industry. We know it's broken. We know what we're trying to do is the right thing. We know if we don't do this, someone else will. So that kind of drives me.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. It's very inspiring to hear. And I feel like, anybody listening to this or watching this, watch this a couple of times through. That is such a golden nugget of advice, especially getting through the challenging times, when business is like uncertain and you just have to hold on to that vision, that dream that you have. And that's, I think, so powerful. You did mention your team, and I didn't catch earlier, how many team members are you at now? And did that ebb and flow during those times?
Yes, it did ebb and flow. I really have not lost a single person of any kind of valuable piece of the puzzle. I'm a big fan of creating jobs as an entrepreneur and a capitalist, but at the same time, I want as few employees as possible. So I have a network of a lot of arm's length relationships, like fractional CTO, a fractional CMO, an advisory board. So part of my madness is to how do I keep my infrastructure overhead very low, very nimble, very adaptable. The market's going to change quickly. Again, it always does. I always want to be able to see those changes coming and adapt my business model and my product and offering very, very quickly. I mean, within days or weeks at most. And so a big part of what I look for in the team is people that are highly flexible. Some people are sticks in the mud and they hate change. I've picked people that are maybe not the best at what they do, but they're highly flexible and they're very adaptive, and their DNA is, they're not just risk tolerant, they're risk addicts. They love this stuff. They love the big mountain ahead of us.
Mhm.
So, we'll probably ramp up to about 10 people after funding. We've got a new offering we've just launched for 500,000 a couple of weeks ago. But again, I think I can outsource and partner with a lot of key pieces of puzzle to maintain my very nimble business model that I want to have.
I think that's very powerful that you said that too, because especially when you're in an industry there is so much ebb and flowing of change, and to have that team built with that kind of collective mindset is that's so strong. This has been such a fun conversation. I've absolutely loved hearing your journey and where you're going. I'd like to hear, what do you have envisioned for the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, part of the challenge, part of the dream and the vision is 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. So that's my number one issue is how do I get my company up and running and sustainable enough that I can step aside. So we're actively interviewing, CEOs that have been there and done that because we know we've built the foundation. We know we have all the pieces of the puzzle on the table, but I have a health responsibility that overrides everything else right now. So that's my number one goal is to bring a CEO in that can raise capital quickly and scale this thing. The time is right and the time and the opportunity is right. I'd like to become like Match.com for adventure, $1 billion company.
Mm,
Craigslist did 1 billion in revenue and they've got 54 employees. That's the
wow.
power of an automated marketplace. So that's kind of my vision is the advertisers and the consumers do all the work and we just maintain the platform and the backbone. So I've got a lot of visions. I want to change lives. I want to help people all over the planet reconnect with their friends and their family and new friends, and get off the grid and clear their head and live life and do new things that they've never thought possible before, and give them the tools and the information in one brand, in one smartphone app that can help people to truly live the things they've always wanted to do. And it's amazing. You talk to 100 people and 95 of them will say, yeah, I'd like to do this, but I don't know where to start. I don't know
Mhm.
what to do. I don't know what vendor to go with. I don't know who to go with. And so they never try the new sport. And it's one of the biggest problems in the industry because a lot of people have a bad first experience and they never do it again. So, we're building out a big video library, a how-to library where we're going to have interviews and testimonials from world-class adventurers. Our users will be able to upload their experiences and their content and their pictures. So the next person that comes along can see a consumer testimonial about this trail or that kayak shop or that bike trail, whatever it may be. I want to give people trusted, real-time local content and information so they can get out and play. Because there's one thing I've learned since I was a small child is fun is good.
I
So
agree with
mm.
that.
Not too
Um,
many people on their deathbed said, gee, I wish I had worked more. It's almost, I wish I had played more.
Yes, I feel that. Thank you for sharing that. I'd like to get into a fun part of our question and answer, which is our rapid fire questions. I'm going to
Yeah.
ask you 4 questions and you can answer very top of mind. First thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
All right. First question is, what is the key to success for you?
Never giving up.
Beautiful. And next question is, what is a piece of advice you have for other business owners?
How do I put this politely? Don't believe an investor until the check clears the bank.
Love that. That's the first time I've heard that one, and that is a great answer. I
Yeah.
love that. Number three is, it could be a book, a podcast, anything content-wise that you've taken in most recently.
7 years in Tibet.
Hmm.
Did you ever see the movie with Brad Pitt?
I've heard of it, but I got to put it on my watch list.
It's a powerful story of pre-World War II of some German climbers that were trying to climb Mount Everest, and they were captured by the British and they escaped, and they spent 7 years off the map, off in a part of the world that no one had ever been to, surviving through Tibet. And it's a very powerful story of survival and dreams and overcoming obstacles, and incredible photography in the movie as well, all around Tibet. So
Oh, I'm excited. I'll have to check that out. Thank you for that. And the fourth question is, if you could wave a magic wand and overnight rapidly improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
CEO that's raised capital before.
Thank you for those answers. Before we get to our final question for today, let's get people plugged into what you're working on. How can people get connected with you online?
The website is just adventureheadquarters.com. There's a free membership. They can sign up. There's three parts to it. There's the search engine that anybody and their grandmother can use, no strings attached. And then from that, we think they'll have a great first experience. And they drop down into the free membership to get a little more value, a little more capabilities. And then from that, they would funnel down into the paid membership, which is $5 a month. And you get deals and discounts and free events and meetups. And we really add and provide a lot of value for $5 a month.
Mm. Thank you. I definitely am excited to check that out for sure. This has been such a great conversation, Chris. For our final question today, what is most inspiring to you today?
I just see all around the world people that, like the fires out in LA or the floods of North Carolina and hurricanes and other disasters, how incredibly powerful people can be with overcoming setbacks in life, massive setbacks. And it kind of helps to keep things in perspective. When you're doing a little startup and you're struggling with capital, or you might have to shut down, keep it in perspective. There's people all over this planet every day that lose everything and get their lives crushed, and they're able to come back. And it just never ceases to amaze me what people can do in coming back from setbacks or disasters in life.
Yes, that is very true. Thank you so much. This has been inspiring to me. And again, thank you to anyone who's listened to this. Be sure to like and subscribe for more inspiring conversations. Thanks for being on the show today.
Okay, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for the opportunity to talk with y'all.